In this video, I want to address the issue of representation as it relates to our U.S. Constitution. I want to ask a question. What is the most important part of our Constitution? What do you think is the single most important part of our entire Constitution? Now, when I've asked this question to people, I hear a variety of different answers. One of the most common I hear is the First Amendment. When you talk about freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, petitioning, and so forth. But in my opinion, that is not the most important. In fact, keep in mind that was an amendment. But as far as the core Constitution, and even including the amendments, I am absolutely convinced that the most important part of the Constitution is that which the framers of the Constitution, the Constitutional Convention, what they put first. You know, it's kind of like if you're building an argument and you're presenting a case, which piece of evidence do you want to lead with? You want to lead with your strongest piece of evidence. What is most important? And do you know what Article 1, Section 1 says? It says this: all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress of the United States, consisting of both a Senate and a House of Representatives. That's it. That is, in my opinion, the most important part of the Constitution and why it came first. Now, why is that? Because keep in mind, we're coming from a context here with this Constitutional Convention where they were under the authority of a country across the ocean, England. And they were setting up a new government, and they wanted to make sure, back to the Declaration of Independence, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and the government that's going to protect those things. And as it says later on, it talks about life, liberty, and property. These are things that are core for the government to ensure that they protect for the citizens that live there. So, all legislative powers herein granted shall be vested in a Congress. So, lawmaking is so critical related to the central part of what government is. Government makes laws, government enforces laws, and of course, you've got the courts who ensure that laws that get created are in fact according to the Constitution and lawful, if you will, or appropriate. So you've got this Congress consisting of a Senate and a House of Representatives because the founders believed this, that any law that was going to be imposed on the people, not just in the context of the Constitution and what was specifically enumerated in the Constitution, which Article 1 does, but any future laws that were going to be created should come from the body, the legislative body, that's elected by the people. Now, interestingly, when you look at the composition of Congress, it says a Senate and a House. Well, guess what Article 1, Section 2 gets into? What's the most important part between the House and Senate? They talked about the House of Representatives, that it would consist of people elected by the people, we the people, and that these people would go to Washington to represent the people. And it was based on population. Now, the Senate, on the other hand, was comprised of representation of states. So you had 2 senators per state, which was in the original text and is the same today. But you have representatives who are elected and selected among the people according to population. So if you have a large state, you get more representatives. A smaller state, fewer representatives. So that was an absolute hallmark of our Constitution and of the structure of our government, to make sure that the House of Representatives and the Senate were the main drivers behind making law in this country, which everybody had to follow. Now, interestingly, there are over 2,000 words that comprise Article 1, which talks about the legislative body. Now, the other 2 bodies are the executive branch and the judicial branch. Article 2 talks about the presidency. You have any idea how many words comprise Article 2 about the president? About 1,000. So you have over 2,000 words that talk about this legislative body, which is, again, in my opinion, absolutely the most important part of our 3 branches. You then have the presidency, which is also a very key part of our government, about 1,000 words dedicated there. And then Article 3 talks about the last branch of government, which is the judicial branch. Do you know how many words comprise Article 3? About 400. So here you have the legislative branch, which has over 2,000 words. Then you have the executive branch, which has about 1,000 words. And then you have the judicial branch, which has about 400. So again, not just the order that these are presented, but notice the number of words, not that words are everything, but they're pretty important, that gives you a hierarchy of the structure of government and the role of government. So again, back to the legislative branch, the House of Representatives was mentioned first, and the Senate, a key part of that legislative branch. So my point is this, that the Constitution from the very beginning made sure that all laws ought to flow from the legislative branch. That was their whole design and purpose. And the composition of the House and the Senate is absolutely crucial to the effective working of government. And as I described in my other couple of videos earlier, we have a massively unequal representation right now in our U.S. House, something that I believe absolutely needs to be corrected. And we have a lawsuit pending to determine whether we can rectify this long-standing problem of inequity so that we can get back to not only the original intent of the Constitution, but to make sure that everybody's voice, every voter in this country, has the representation on equal footing that they all deserve. So if you want to check out more, please visit our website at apportionment.us. Thank you.